So before we get into the movie, I guess we need to say we're back.
We are back. Although we were back for the last podcast, we just recorded it before.
Well, right. So the last time we recorded, we said that we were going to California, so we have returned.
Yep.
We did not, unfortunately, watch this movie in California.
No, we intended to, but we missed out on the opportunity to see it at the TCL theater.
Yes, and by we mean somebody was running late. But it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, so we did pick a really good movie, I think. I think this is a good movie to cover.
It's a good but uncomfortable movie. I think it's a fair assessment. So this is your choice.
Yes, the movie is Bombshell.
Yes, and it's the real-life telling of the sexual harassment scandal at Fox. I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay.
And this is Cinematically Correct. Before we get into the movie, because we saw this in theaters, we are obligated to go through the trailers.
Right. That is true. There was not many.
No, there's 3.
Right.
So the first one was Like a Boss Again. Still no. Don't want to see it.
But while we were in California, we saw Tiffany Haddish on the Jimmy Fallon show. So
Kimmel show.
Wow, why did I say that?
I don't know.
But yes, Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
I wrote Jimmy Fallon, that's why I said it. Anyway, so we actually were in the live studio audience for Kimmel. And
second
we were
row.
Yeah, second row. So if you guys have On Demand or Hulu or anything like that, you can catch us on the Tiffany Haddish episode. I want to say it came out on the 7th of January.
Something like that. It was a Monday.
It was a Monday, so it was right around there. You can see Tyler in a big red sweater, so
yes.
we took some screenshots, but you know, I will say I was not a big Tiffany Haddish fan. It's just not my type of humor.
Yeah.
But she was actually really funny on Kimmel.
She was a great interview.
Yeah.
But not the type of movie that I want to see.
No, I'm still
to be
not
honest,
interested.
I'm still not wanting to see
Still
that
not
movie.
interested, but I had new respect for it now that I saw her.
Although I will say that I would like to see this movie slightly more than the next trailer, which is Barb and Star.
Yeah, I wrote looks pretty awful. It's just too over the top.
It's just going to be such an atrocity. It's going to be an abomination of a train wreck of a nightmare wrapped in misery.
Yeah, just not my thing at all. However, the third trailer.
Third one was Antebellum, and I am totally excited for that. It's got all of the things that I want in a movie, really. It's got history. It's got suspense and horror. It's got sci-fi elements. So it's got the whole package.
It really does. I mean, I wrote the little girl looks super creepy. I think she's going to be the next creepy, child actor type thing. She nailed it. Like, I'm just saying. So I'm super interested in that. I don't know when it comes out. It just said coming soon, I'm pretty sure. So,
yeah, something like that.
But I'm down. So if it's on my month, I'm picking it. It's just saying.
Yeah.
Saying. Anyways.
So back to the movie.
Well, no, you have a beer. So why don't we do that before we hit a brief synopsis?
So this is Burley Oak Brewing Company out of Berlin, Maryland. And it's titled Sorry Chickie. It's a dry hopped sour ale. And I think I'm going to like it, but it's a little bit on the nose for a movie about sexual harassment.
Right. But I picked it specifically because you've been complaining a lot that I pick beers that you're not going to like.
Well, you do that a lot.
Yes. I went in with the idea that I was going to get a can with a blonde woman on it because this movie is literally about basically all blonde women.
Right.
But
there's that one scene in the elevator where all 3 women are just standing there, and it's just Roger Ailes type, apparently.
Yes. But the only can that had a blonde woman on it was an IPA, so I avoided that for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
so I'm going to think it's going to be a 3.75.
Okay. That was satisfying.
It was.
Yeah.
That's actually really quite good. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I totally like that.
Is it still a 3.75?
I think I'll give it a 3.75.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, so if you guys want to have a beer with the Bombshell movie, it's Sorry Chickie by
the
Burley Oak?
Burley Oak Brewing Company.
All right,
so brief synopsis, I guess.
Go for it.
Brief synopsis.
So this movie really just follows the story of the sexual harassment scandal at Fox News. So Roger Ailes is a creepy old pervert. So are a bunch of people at Fox, apparently. Apparently, Fox hires nothing but perverts and sexual deviants in the upper management.
You're really going to say that on a podcast
Yeah.
that we're going to release? That's what you're going to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rupert Murdoch does not have a whole lot of talent in spotting the non-perverted people for
Great.
executives.
I'm really looking forward to releasing this. Okay.
So he does a whole lot of inappropriate things with all of the women in the office. One of them, played by Nicole Kidman, files a lawsuit, and then a bunch of other women come forward. And it's all about how it's institutionalized sexual harassment in the office, and no one takes it seriously, and no one helps the women.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's the movie. Yeah.
So before we get into the actual movie, we should probably do the characters like we always do.
Right. We always do that. That's our thing.
There's a lot of them, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm not going to go based on who's the best actors because that's going to take forever. And Allison Janney's in here, and I'm not going to really talk about her, so, not hierarchical. Anyway, Charlize Theron plays Megyn Kelly.
Killed it.
Killed it with everything. I mean, we'll get into, like, how amazing the makeup and voice and all of that was, but, I mean, she killed it.
Yeah.
But she plays Megyn Kelly, who's a news anchor for Fox News. Republican, which is kind of important.
They're all Republicans.
But it's important in her respect with her fight with Trump. So I
Right.
just want to make sure that we mention that. She plays a complicated character.
Yeah.
I mean, Megyn Kelly is a complicated character, I guess. In herself, like a real person. But I like the fact that they showed her as not perfect. She used the word snowflake, which I'm sure most people are not a fan of.
Well, she also said that Jesus and Santa are white.
And that's a real clip. That's
it is a real clip. It is a real clip, but at the same time,
it's a questionable thing to say on the news.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of she's a complicated person, but I think that it's important that they showed that. I think it made it more real, and they didn't just make her seem like this innocent person that was taken advantage of. And
so they did a very good job on all of the actors in this movie, making them actual people with depth of character rather than just basically a portrait that has no depth to it.
Right. So, regardless, I didn't like her as a person, but I still rooted for her to kind of get justice for what was done to her.
Yeah.
Same thing for Gretchen Carlson, which was played by Nicole Kidman. Not a likable person.
No, none of these women are likable, really. I found them all irritating in their own special ways across the board. But that's not what this is about. You don't have to like a person to not want them to live a life devoid of being assaulted. Like you can't.
Right.
You can be a miserable person, but no one deserves to have that experience.
Right, but you don't normally see that in movies.
Yeah.
It's usually the victim is this pure, innocent person who does no wrong, and you're rooting for them the whole time. And in this movie, they really show that even people that you really aren't a fan of, you don't want to see bad things like that happen to. Like, that nobody deserves that. And I think that's a really important thing that this movie chose to do. They could have ignored all the bad parts of those characters to show their, fight against the patriarchy, but they didn't. And I think that's really important.
I think that's one of the failings of a lot of movies is that it's a written story and that the person wants to convey that this is the good person, this is the bad person, and they kind of take reality out of it by making it an oversimplified version.
Right. Anyway, she plays a news anchor as well. She ends up getting fired from Fox News, and as soon as she is fired, she files a lawsuit against Roger Ailes for sexual harassment and claims that's why she was fired. Because she wouldn't comply with sexual advances.
Can I just say, good, burn it to the ground. Well done.
Now, I couldn't find if it was true that she really did tape everything that was said. I couldn't find that.
I'm pretty sure she did.
And she probably did, because some of the quotes we'll talk about later, but were actual things he actually said. But if she did, good for her. For thinking to do that.
I think when I read this story originally in the news, actual news, not Fox News, actual news, I remember hearing about tapes being discovered.
Well, good for her. I know Megyn Kelly kept a diary of things that happened, which is also just as good. I mean, when you read someone's diary and you see stuff like that, it definitely has a powerful impact.
Yeah.
Anyways, Margot Robbie plays Kayla Popsicle. Now, from what I understand from online, she's one of the only characters that's not based on a real person.
Right.
She's basically just put in there to show what happens to a victim. Like, in the moment.
Well, she's an amalgamation of other people to try to expedite the story a little bit.
Right. And, I mean, it's Margot Robbie, so I cannot not like her. She's just amazing at everything she does. I don't think I've seen a movie where I don't like her. I mean, okay, Suicide Squad. I mean, I like her character as Harley Quinn, but I mean, if anybody likes Suicide Squad, I'm sorry. But...
You're wrong, and you should feel bad.
But, yeah. But
we're talking about you, Joe.
I am actually interested to see her in Birds of Prey, which is Harley Quinn. But
we will see.
We will see.
Jury is out on that
one. But regardless, she's an amazing actress. She was great in I, Tonya. She's great in everything.
Alice and Jenny. Second movie with the two of them.
Yes, that is true. And if you haven't listened to that, that was a few months back, and you can check that out. But she plays an amalgamation of characters, and she is getting assaulted. I mean, you see firsthand what he does to people. I mean, the main scene that I think of is the twirl scene.
The pull your dress up. Dude, that gets any person fired in a normal work environment.
Yeah. And as a woman, I can just almost feel how she feels of like just being that demeaned and feeling like you have no power in this situation. This is your boss, and this is your only hope of ever progressing.
But it's not your boss. This is your boss's boss's boss.
Well,
like, this is the head of the company.
Right. If you don't please him, you're not going up the ladder. Like, that's awful. But anyway, so she was great. And then the other person I wanted to talk about, obviously, was John Lithgow, who plays Roger Ailes.
John Lithgow is great. I mean, you can't hear his voice and not know that it's John Lithgow.
I mean, I saw him and knew it was John Lithgow. Like, it's funny because Charlize Theron, I didn't recognize half the movie, but John Lithgow, my first note in here is, that's the guy from Third Rock from the Sun.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how that happened, but because well,
he has a very recognizable voice and presence. He just does. He does
his
look...
eyes, I'm telling you, they're John Lithgow. Like,
he looks very much like Roger Ailes, though. The makeup in this movie is fantastic, where he looks 100% like Roger Ailes, who is a frumpy, dumpy, Humpty Dumpty looking bastard with no moral integrity whatsoever. Like, he's a horrible person inside and out.
Yeah, his looks have shown his insides.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it is what it is. But anyways, there is a lot of other great actors in here. We cannot go through them all, but I did want to kind of just honorable mention them. Allison Janney, Malcolm McDowell, Kate McKinnon, Connie Britton, Liv Hewson. There's great people in here. Yeah. So I just want to make sure we mention them. The cast is phenomenal.
I mean, Kate McKinnon, closeted Democrat, closeted lesbian working in Fox, was delightful.
It really was. It was just one of those...
It was a little bit of levity that you kind of needed to balance this out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was a very real movie. It was a very tough to watch movie at times.
Yeah. No, I wasn't really going to go into this too much because I don't really have a super opinion on it. But since you brought it up, Kate McKinnon plays a closeted lesbian, and she has kind of like a one-night stand, I guess, with Margot Robbie's character.
Yeah.
And the internet is not happy about it. The internet states that it's basically put out there for just to have a lesbian relationship, and that there was no point to it. Which I can see their side in that it really doesn't go anywhere. But I looked at it more, and I don't know if maybe you read it differently, as not necessarily a lesbian relationship, but as a kind of women getting drunk and just kind of having, fooling around and then being friends.
Anything to that scene. It was just kind of they're in bed after the fact, and it was I took it as more just exposition to show that she's a closeted Democrat working at Fox News, and just give her a little bit more depth, because I mean, otherwise you're not going to have a picture. I think Fox would have had a bigger problem with her having a picture of Hillary on her fridge than the fact that she's a lesbian.
The reason people have a problem with it seems, is that they feel that they just inserted a lesbian relationship to just have that representation.
I mean, I think that's fair. It didn't serve a whole lot. I mean, they could have just been in her apartment hanging out. You didn't need that part of it to add anything to the movie.
See, so for me, I didn't feel that they were pushing a lesbian agenda at all. I felt that Margot Robbie's character... We have no indication that she's actually a lesbian. Just because a girl fools around with a girl does not mean she's a lesbian. I think we all can understand in 2020 that doesn't mean that. There's levels of sexuality.
You are defined however you define yourself.
Right. There's levels of sexuality, and a lot of women just get drunk and they experiment, they do what they want to do, and that is what it is. It doesn't mean anything deeper than that. And I didn't feel that the movie pushed it to mean deeper than that. Margot Robbie didn't really, she didn't come out. She didn't talk about anything like that. It wasn't like this big reveal. It was nothing like that. And Kate McKinnon's character didn't seem to have an issue anyway of any of that. I felt it was just supposed to be a casual romance type situation, kind of more to give background to the fact that Kate McKinnon's character and Margot Robbie were really, really close and sharing everything. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she's like, nope, don't get me involved. I don't want to know.
Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
Right. I think it spoke to how women didn't feel comfortable, even with people they were closest to, speaking out against someone like him.
Yeah. I mean, that's entirely fair. But I don't think that the lesbian aspect had any real value other than they could have just been friends on the couch with a girls' night or something. And then she sees a picture of Hillary.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done it any way they wanted, but hookups happen, and I don't think we need to think of them as anything more than hookups. Anyway, okay, so one of the things that you wanted to talk about was breaking the fourth wall.
I did. So, Megyn Kelly's character, especially, played by Charlize Theron, and the voice is uncanny. So if you haven't seen this movie, it's Megyn Kelly, but it's not. It's weird. She's directly looking at the camera, addressing the camera a lot of the time, which I thought was a great nod to bringing you in to the story, because we are part of the story, because this is a true story that happened very recently. It's not something that is an old, long forgotten thing. It's not a fictionalized story. This happened, and it happened to us, everyone, recently.
Right. I mean, I think it also, obviously very Deadpool-esque. I mean, obviously those are the things you think of when you see breaking the fourth wall. But I think it also kind of gave that aspect of her as a reporter. You know, her speaking to the camera and talking to her audience. It kind of like reminded you of that, because they also inserted clips from the actual Megyn Kelly, which, let me tell you, I couldn't tell the difference. But they inserted clips from the actual Megyn Kelly where she's speaking to the camera, and they really did mirror each other. It really felt very similar, and I thought that was really powerful.
They had a whole lot of clips, whether it was the president, Megyn Kelly, or the real Roger Ailes. They were just spliced in almost seamlessly. Yeah.
I mean, you have to literally go back and look at the other clips and be like, oh my god, those are real. Like, that's not Charlize Theron, that's Megyn Kelly. Like, it's amazing.
That's not John Lithgow, that's actual Roger Ailes.
Right, which leads into my other thing that I want to talk about. The makeup artist for this movie was the same makeup artist that did Darkest Hour, Gary Oldman.
For Winston Churchill.
Yes. And, I mean, you can't say that he didn't do amazing in both of them. I mean, I think he might have won an award for Gary Oldman. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, fantastic across the board. Each person cast looks like the person that they're supposed to represent in this whole movie, even if with the throwaway characters. There was Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, to a lesser extent, Rudy Giuliani. But it was a very well done casting on top of the makeup. I mean, the makeup artist, bravo. His name is Kazuhiro. I believe he was just nominated for an Oscar for this movie, actually.
For the
makeup. Fantastically done.
Amazing. I mean, there are a few characters that people do say isn't quite right. Rudy Giuliani is the first one I think of. But there's also characters like Bill O'Reilly, who you barely see, but spot on.
Spot on. Sean Hannity, also spot on. Judge Jeanine Pirro, same voice, same person. Like, it's all across the board, cast and makeup A's across the board.
So just kudos to that, because I mean, I don't even normally talk about makeup because I don't really
you don't notice it unless it's like a sci-fi or something where there's a reason.
Prosthetics.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously there's prosthetics in this. John Lithgow does not look like that.
No.
But,
he wore a gigantic fat suit for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. But, I mean, Megyn Kelly, for example, Charlize Theron, I don't think there were prosthetics involved in that.
I think it was just a haircut and her voice, really.
And really good makeup, probably good contour. I don't know, but they did a great job. Anyway, okay, so I did want to kind of talk about, although this movie does focus on Gretchen Carlson, and it talks about her lawsuit against Roger Ailes, there are many other sexual harassment topics that are brought up in the movie, but they don't really follow, which, I mean, I understand that it is a movie and you want to kind of stick to a storyline. I am very much the type of person that doesn't like to go in too many different directions.
Well, if they introduce too many of the same basic story, it splinters a little bit and you lose some of the gravity of the story that you're trying to tell.
Right.
So if you involve the president, if you involve Bill O'Reilly, if you involve
Brian Wilson.
It kind of loses the focus almost, and it doesn't give the same kind of impact because it's a whole big sweeping thing.
Right. Now, I agree on that. However, I do think that it is important that because we're talking about something like this, we also use that opportunity to talk about the fact that this is not an isolated incident by any means.
No.
And, I mean, this was something that Fox News specifically really struggled with. I mean, the people that I want to talk about right now are very Fox News based, whether it be that Fox News covered it, Fox News favors them, or they were working for Fox News. So the three that are the big ones that I saw in this movie would be Donald Trump, our sitting president, Bill O'Reilly, and Brian Wilson.
Yes. It was almost institutionalized sexism and sexual assault at Fox News.
Right. So obviously the first one would be Donald Trump. That I'm saying that first because it's the beginning of the movie that it's kind of brought up. They talk about the way that he talks to women. The fact that his ex-wife accused him of rape, and his lawyer,
saying
Michael
you can't
Cohen,
rape your wife.
Right, says you can't rape your wife. Guys, marital rape is a thing, in case anybody was...
Also, the grab her by the expletive.
Yes. And just also the way he talks about women, the way he talks about their looks, the way the Miss America pageant, the way he dealt with that.
The way that he creepily just walks into the Miss America, almost children. They're like 18, 19 years old, and he's 70. Just walking in on them changing because he owns the pageant. That's not...
Right.
No, that's not a thing.
Obviously, he is not a Fox News employee, so I don't want to get that confused, but this is around 2016, and that is when he was running for president, which, as you guys know,
unfortunately, he won.
He is still the president. But for Fox News, Megyn Kelly, to be calling him out on any of that had to have been so shocking. I mean, I was not a Fox News follower at that time. I'm not now. I don't know why I said at that time. I'm not a Fox News follower. But you could not hear about this, right? And I mean, now, obviously, we're well more aware of Fox News because he doesn't ever not talk about it. So
he watches nothing but Fox News and doesn't know anything about anything.
Yes.
But that's a really separate issue.
But the fact that they brought it up is pretty shocking. But the fact that he's still got elected... even with all of this, is pretty shocking.
So Roger Ailes, I think, wound up with 23 women accusing him. The president is not that far off with 17.
Yeah.
And at what point do you have to start believing numerous people rather than just one lying jackass?
Right. Now, I'm not going to get into how I feel about the president and all of that. What I do want to speak to is the fact that this does say a lot about how we as a society feel about sexual harassment towards anybody, not just women. I mean, we're focusing on women because that's what this movie is about. But, I mean, it seems like sexual harassment as a whole does kind of get swept under the rug in a lot of instances. And obviously we can see that. Our president is sitting with 17 accusers. That says something. So, you know, the movie didn't go into it too much. There's probably a lot of reasons for that. One, that he is a sitting president. It's probably high on that list. But it is important that they did bring it up. It is brought up. The other one is Bill O'Reilly.
Yes, Bill O'Reilly also did horrible things and is up there with Roger Ailes as creepiest person at Fox, which is an accomplishment. He would call people and fondle himself while talking to his female employees and coworkers, which just... why?
Yeah, it's disturbing, to say the least. Now, he did get fired from Fox News. But
he got millions of dollars for getting fired. I don't think he was technically fired. I think he was
all of
resign.
them did. Don't get confused. The people who got let go from Fox made more money in severance than the women who accused them did in their settlements. That is disgusting.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there. That is disgusting. Yeah. And Bill O'Reilly, while he got fired from Fox News, he is by no means destitute. He is still a public figure. I don't know if he has a podcast or what he has.
He's doing other things that is not on Fox News.
And people are listening to him. And you can have whatever political affiliation you want, but at what point do we say, okay, we're not going to support you because that's disgusting and that's not okay?
I just don't understand why some people seem to get away with it when others are blacklisted forever. Like... it's almost like a double standard where you have Bill O'Reilly, but then you have Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, everyone agrees is a horrible person, and because he's dead, we can all just agree, fuck that guy. But Bill O'Reilly, some people, well, it wasn't that bad, or there's the apologists and people that make excuses, and it just, I've never understood that.
I think power, money, influence, where you're sitting at the time, like where the politics are sitting at the time, there's a lot of different factors that go into it.
I think also you get to shape the narrative if you don't die. Like, if you keep living on and past that, you kind of fade into the background, which you should never get to fade into the background. You should be put on a list forever. You should be a sex offender.
Well, and who's to say it's not still happening?
Right.
So,
exactly.
Anyway, Brian Wilson is also another one. Now, I don't know a ton about him, but they did show in the movie that he said he could get a female anchor to DC if she showed him the inside of her hotel room, which actually happened. That is exactly how it happened. And she said on the Megyn Kelly video where they reacted to this, that she had almost the same like feelings during this whole thing, where she was like, I'm just going to try to like change the narrative here and kind of be like, hey, we're professional, we're friends.
We're professional friends. I don't understand what you're saying. We're just going to pretend like you didn't actually say it.
Right. And she got let go 3 days later after rejecting his advances. And I do want to say that all of the women that were part of this, not Megyn Kelly, I mean, she's still kind of a person, but a lot of them were blackballed from TV and aren't even able to work, which, again, disgusting. It shouldn't be that way, but unfortunately, I guess we're still in that culture.
It's like quite legitimately the textbook definition of sexual harassment in the workplace.
Yes.
Where you're blacklisted forever.
Yes. So if you guys want to know more about the like small stories, I have not seen this yet, but I've heard that The Loudest Voice on Showtime really does a good job of showing those extra stories, and also shows the lady who helped Roger Ailes get women. Kind of,
the secretary or whoever it was that...
Apparently she was doing things for him, and then when she no longer wanted to anymore, she was getting replacements, and I'm putting that in quotations. So she's just as culpable, if you ask me, but they called her an indentured servant in the Showtime show, apparently. I got this from the Megyn Kelly interview. So
a forced co-conspirator might be a more apt term.
So I am interested to see that, and if you guys want to know more, obviously go see that. Since we're talking about the textbook definition of sexual harassment, I think we should talk about what Margot Robbie said.
Yes. So she said that she was surprised to find that sexual harassment could be verbal rather than just physical sexual harassment, which I feel is sadly the case across the board. A lot of people don't even acknowledge the verbal side of it, because you can just kind of brush that off and be like, hey, you can go to hell.
Right. And I think, so I've been thinking about this a lot since I read it, because, I mean, as a woman, obviously, my first thought is, of course, sexual harassment can be words. Of course that's the case. Like, I mean, I know that. But then you start thinking about what you went through in your life, and you start thinking about the things that you let go and why you let it go. And I think, although intuitively, as a woman, you can, from the outside looking in, say, of course, that's sexual harassment. I think when it happens to you, that is very common for women to do. It's very common for women to say, oh, but he didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. He was just kidding, or boys will be boys.
Right, or he's just saying stupid things. It's fine. I'll let it go. I'm not going to be dramatic. I'm not going to cause a scene. All of that. I think that's very common. It's really sad.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I do think we still, as women, think that way today, whether we want to say it's cognitive or not.
Well, I think she had that same moment where she just had that tunnel vision going back in her life going, oh my God, all of these things... Of course it was inappropriate. I just let it go. But it was horribly inappropriate. And I'm imagining that, sadly, a lot of women share that realization. If you spend the time to think about it, that they've had those kind of horrible, uncomfortable experiences at some point in the past.
Right. So, I mean, I don't want to say too much on that, but I do want to say that, like, if you can go back and think of even one instance where it was uncomfortable, then that's not okay. And I really hope that as these things come out more and more, that it does become easier to talk about it. Because it does seem that there is kind of a line that you have to kind of gauge as a woman as to where is it gone far enough that you can speak out, and where is it not far enough that you're causing problems where you shouldn't. Like, that line is blurry still, and I hope that gets fixed. Roger Ailes. So, yes. I mean, obviously this movie is about Roger Ailes, so we should probably talk about the real Roger Ailes.
Yes. Roger Ailes is a loathsome person. His Wikipedia, now that he's dead, I believe says good riddance.
Yes, his Wikipedia, in fact, does say good riddance. He died of a subdural hematoma. He fell and hit his head and passed away. And yes, his Wikipedia says good riddance. It's pretty awful. I laugh because...
But it's also appropriate because he's a terrible person.
Yes.
And Roger Ailes, just nothing good can be said about him, really.
No.
Can it? Like, I don't think a positive thing can be said.
No, but I did want to mention that in 2016, this Gretchen Carlson case came out, but back in 2014, I think her name is Gabrielle Sherman, wrote a book accusing him of offering a TV producer a raise if they perform sexual acts, and he denied it all, and it was swept under the rug.
Well, I think part of that is the inherent silence and powerlessness that you feel. A lot of women don't come forward until years and years later because no one's going to believe them, or it's going to be he said, she said, and it's just going to be, well, you probably let him on, or it's also your fault, which is just terrible. I mean, Megyn Kelly for this whole movie was silent up until the very end.
Right.
And she bears some responsibility for that because it happened 10 years ago.
Right.
She could have helped other women avoid being victimized. And if you don't speak out, you are somewhat responsible for all of the people that are victimized in the future.
Right. But I do think it is important to note that I think even probably still today, speaking out you also have to weigh ruining your career. Yeah. Because as I said before, these women were blackballed from television for speaking out. So I do think that weighs heavy. Are you willing to destroy a career that you've worked so hard for to speak out against somebody? It's a very hard thing. Yes, you should. Of course you should. But you also have a life to live here. Yeah. So I also wanted to note that, Shelley Ross, writing for the Daily Beast, had said that in a 1981 meeting, Ailes said to her, "When did you first discover you were sexy?" She explained to him that she found the conversation embarrassing, and he said the best expression of loyalty comes in the form of sexual alliance. I wanted to mention that because a lot of the quotes in this movie seem to be actual quotes he actually said. So this isn't a Hollywood thing where they said really disgusting things to make you feel gross. That's what he said. Like, those are the words he used. And this whole theme of loyalty, he really did well with. Like, he was a master at making people feel they needed to be loyal to him.
Well, it's you scratch my back, I scratch yours. I can do all of these things for you, but I do expect a little something, something.
Yeah, and I mean, the quote they used in the movie was, in order to get ahead, you need to give head.
Yeah.
Or give a little head, something like that. That's disgusting. It should never be uttered, ever. But I will say, in the Megyn Kelly interview, they all stated that they did feel he was a father figure, and he had their back, and he did help them in their careers and helped push them forward. And so when it came time to speak out, they were all hesitant. They were all kind of wondering, do I go against this person who forwarded my career and put me in the spotlight and got me to where I want to be just because of some sexual stuff? Like, that's how they felt. And it's amazing that he was able to do that, like, to make them feel so questioning on something that's clearly wrong.
Well, there were a couple scenes where he doesn't even understand that he's not the victim in this story. Like, he said something like, why would they make up stories? Why would I want a blowjob from these women? You like blowjobs. Like, that's obvious.
I mean, even a person that's not doing sexual harassment, that's a weird thing to say. Why would I want blowjobs from very beautiful women? I mean, wanting and trying to
manipulate your way into getting them are different. Like, you can all agree that blowjobs are wonderful, but you don't force someone to do them.
No.
Or these women are trying to fuck you. And I just wanted someone to respond with, "No, sir, they're actually trying to not."
Yeah. I mean,
it just, you're not the victim. Stop coming up with things where it's like, oh, these women are out to get me. No, you were out to get them, and they are just getting things out in the open.
Right, and he made a crap ton of money, even in Severance. Right. So, I mean, I don't feel bad for him at all. I mean, you're disgusting. I'm glad you're gone. Yeah. Anyway, but I think before we kind of get into our history minutes and all those little things that we do, we should mention Hollywood as a whole. Because this isn't an isolated incident to Fox News. Now, Fox News had a large portion. I mean, they really had a...
It seems, oddly enough, that the people in those types of circumstances fall victim to that on a higher degree, and you let things slide because that's just the established nature of things. And I work in corporate America. I have an annual training that we have to go through to avoid sexual harassment, and it's obvious that you don't do those things, and you would never want to be the creepy person that in the office no one feels comfortable being around. But at the same time, it happens all the time, and you see it in Hollywood, whether it's Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein,
Bill
Cosby, Roger Ailes. All of these big influential people think that they can get away with it.
Well, and I think we need to remember that, our experiences in corporate America for the most part. So obviously there are things in place, and it's not so much about kind of making connections and things like that in the 9-to-5 world. Somewhat, but not as much as in Hollywood or in any creative outlet, really. In that creative outlet, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's a very big thing. And because of that, when you're a big, powerful figure in a world like that, where the only way to get up is to know someone and have someone kind of pull you up, that's going to be important. That's,
there is more leverage there than in a standard, if you're good at your job, you get promoted. I do get that, but at the same time, that needs to be pulled out of that equation. It does.
I do think part of it is, for a long time, I obviously don't know the dynamics anymore, but for a long time, men were paid more. Men were more sought after, all of that in Hollywood. So for a woman to get noticed, a man had to notice her.
Right.
And unfortunately, men took advantage of that. And it wasn't just, I'm your friend and I'm going to help you out. It was, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. And unfortunately, so many women did that or allowed that then it became, you had to allow it or you weren't getting anywhere. Right. And I do think it's changing. I don't want to say that it's not. But I think, unfortunately, it wasn't just the men, but it was also the women who allowed it that got to where we were at. And that's unfortunate and horrible and sad.
Well, the fact that it happened, or it has happened, makes it harder to get back to a place for acceptable society.
Right. If 10 women say, okay, I'm going to do this to get ahead, the one woman who says she's not isn't getting ahead. Right. Unfortunately. That's horrible and sad, but unfortunately. And
it's going to take 100 women to get back to establishing that no one's going to do it, to turn things back a little bit.
Right.
And
I'm glad that we're moving in that direction, but it's sad that it got that far.
It's fighting against the tide. It's fighting against the established order, and you have to work harder to get back to where we are supposed to be.
Right. So, I wanted to mention that because I do know that with not only sexual harassment, but, a lot of the rape cases, we talked about it a little bit in Brian Banks' podcast, but with all of that, there is always the question of, is it the truth? And I think we as a society need to understand that while, yes, when anything becomes a big thing, there's going to be people who take advantage of the motion, and that just happens, right? But if we continue to question victims, unfortunately, we're tracking backwards, and these people who are doing this are going to get the power back. And I think
it's the two sides of the coin. Yes, they have to be taken seriously, but also, yes, you cannot ruin someone's life on just an accusation. There has to be actual evidence before you send someone to prison, like Brian Banks. There was just I said it happened, so it happened.
Right. But as we said in Brian Banks, there does need, the legal system needs a better way to prove these things, a better way to go about this, because right now it makes it very hard, and it makes it so that it's not in favor of either party.
Yeah.
So, again, I just want to put that out there because I know that this is a contentious topic, and that is what it is. Anyway, you have a history minute, yeah?
Tyler's History Minute.
So I have a very anemic history minute this week. There's not a whole lot of history here. It's more current events.
Yes.
So it happened back in
2016.
During the run-up to the Republican National Convention. Mm-hmm. Roger Ailes was fired before that, or asked to resign before that. Now, this takes place in Fox, and everyone who doesn't know, Rupert Murdoch owns Fox News. He owns the conglomerate News Corp, which started in 1980. And he basically owns half of print and online media. He owns the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, the Dow Jones, DirecTV, MySpace.
Jeez.
Like, there's so many things on his list of things in corporate.
Wait, Tom doesn't own MySpace?
No, he sold that.
Oh, I always thought it was Tom.
No, he made like a few $100 million for it.
Oh, okay.
So it is now owned by the people who own Fox. He does not own 20th Century Fox because he just sold that to Disney, thankfully. So Disney, take over and work your magic. So yeah, he owns basically anything that you watch or how you watch. It's a lot.
Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. He's not the best person either, but...
And he is a native Australian that moved to America.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
that's a great thing that he was able to do that. So.
And it is a bit of a story about how he came to America and then founded a company in the 1980s. And
I mean, that's the American dream, right?
It is. But he also is responsible for a lot of, I would argue, propaganda, because Fox is no longer fair and balanced. They removed that from theirs because they realized it was a farce, I guess. And
that was supposed to be the title of this movie, actually.
Yes. But Fox is not fair and balanced. If you watch Fox, you're getting one opinion, and you just have to realize that. All news it has some kind of slant to it.
It's the same with the newspapers, it's the same with anything. You know what you're watching or reading.
Right.
And if you don't, then that's on you.
If you don't look at other things, you're going to get caught up in that echo chamber where you're just confirming your own opinions. You have to, on either side, left or right, you have to look at everything. Otherwise, you're going to get further and further entrenched in your own ideas.
Right. There's three sides to every story. Yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Okay, so is that your anemic history minute?
That's all I got.
Okay. So next week, you're going to have a robust history minute, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, audience asks.
Audience asks.
Now, I don't think a lot of you saw this movie. I'm not gonna lie. You did give us some questions, but I get the impression not a lot of you saw it. So Gidget Von LaRue, she does the retro cinema. She said, do you think this movie was too hell-bent on its agenda?
I mean, it was a very targeted story, but I think that lent itself to a more impactful movie. It's not an agenda. It's the agenda was telling the story from the perspective of the women, and I think they did that very well. I mean, realistically, the men should have never put themselves in that position, and then there wouldn't be a movie. Like, if you don't do those horrible things, you don't get fired. You don't have a horrible movie lampooning your character, and you can just continue to live your life.
Right.
So
on my perspective, if there was an agenda to this movie, right, beyond just telling a story, I would say that the agenda would be to take down Roger Ailes and the men at Fox News, yeah?
Yeah.
But in the Megyn Kelly interview, for example, one of the women said they let Roger off easy in this movie. So from a perspective of someone who went through it, she's saying they let him off easy. So one, they didn't go as hard as they could have. Two, they didn't tell the stories of the other people in Fox News. So I don't think that they really played that agenda. They also, as we said before, didn't portray these women as innocent victims. They portrayed them as the people that they are. If they were hell-bent on an agenda, they would have taken away Megyn Kelly's questionable Santa situation. They would have taken away all of that to make it more pure and be more of, wow, this man really took advantage of these awesome women. I can't believe it. They didn't do that. So I would say no. I think if anything, they didn't really put an agenda out there. They really just told a story.
Unlike Fox News, it's fair and balanced.
Yeah, so the title could have been Fair and Balanced because the directors had it right. I mean, that's just my opinion. Yeah. Obviously, I wasn't there in the room to know what happened, but the way it portrayed to me, it didn't seem agenda-driven.
It didn't seem very slanted either way. Right. Because they're people being people, and this is the story of a horrible circumstance, and they're telling the horrible circumstance.
Yes, that's how I feel too. Okay, so we usually do two, so I do want to bring up one more. Kyle and Nick on Film, they're new to me. So thank you guys for sending a question in. But they said, I think the decision to use real unaltered footage is an interesting choice, not one that worked for Almighty Goatman, which I believe is his co-host. Would like to hear your thoughts on that.
So I actually really liked the fact that they spliced in real clips of the actual people involved. I think it highlighted the fact that it was superbly cast. I feel like it highlighted the fact that the acting and the makeup was all very well done. It also lends some perspective to the fact that this happened within all of our collective memories, because it happened 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to forget that it was not long ago. It was not 10 years ago. It was not 30 years ago. It was 4 years ago.
Right. I mean, so for me, first of all, I usually enjoy when real footage is included in films. It doesn't usually bother me. In this situation, I was literally sitting there going, wait, is it real or not real? Like, it was really hard to tell the difference. And I think it really helped speak to the fact that this is a true story. Like, this isn't, obviously they took liberties. It's Hollywood, whatever. But this isn't something that's just made up to talk about sexual harassment. This is actually true. And I think that they did a good job about highlighting that and showing what really happened around it. So for me, it really worked. And I mean, the casting made it so seamless that I barely noticed, honestly. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I have on that. Did you want to move into reviews?
Ratings and reviews.
Reviews.
So, Rotten Tomatoes has it at 68%.
Ooh.
And then the audience score is 84. Which I would have expected, honestly, to be flipped, because this was a little bit of a tough movie to get through. I expected the cinephiles,
yeah,
thank you, the cinephiles to appreciate how this was filmed more than the average person. I'm going to give it a 7.75.
Okay, and why so low?
So it was very uncomfortable to sit through this movie, which
was the point.
It is the point. I'm taking points for that. I do kind of feel like they let a few people off too easy in this movie, and I'm taking points for that, because you need to ruin these people's lives a little bit and crank up the fire under the feet.
That's fair.
So I'm taking points off there. I mean, there was no real soundtrack that I noticed, either positive or negative. It was
I will say,
fantastically acted, fantastically cast, fantastic performances.
But before, you said soundtrack, I'm gonna say, because I have to, there is, in the elevator scene and a few other scenes, there is this like bump, bump, bump noise that, like, I don't know what it is, but every time I heard it, my heart dropped, and it did this thing to me. So, no, maybe there wasn't a soundtrack to speak of, but that noise, whatever it was just powerful.
Yes. So they had a few scenes where the background sounds were impactful, but it was a little bit more understated than I'm used to. Very well shot, so I'm going to give it a 7.75.
Okay. Now I'm a female, so I think everybody kind of expects that I'm going to give it a higher score, so bear with me. I'm giving it a 9. I have to take off points because I don't like the fact that the actual woman who dealt with it felt that they let him off easy, and I don't like the fact that they didn't really talk about anybody who's alive. I understand that there is complications and all of that, and the actual women aren't involved, and there could be outgoing cases, there could be, we don't know. There's a lot we don't know, right? But to mention them and then not talk about it just felt kind of, I don't know.
Thrown in there.
Yeah, it felt a little tough for me as a woman to not know that this isn't a Roger Ailes thing. This was a Fox News thing at that time for this particular thing. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. But they did a great job casting. They did a great job splicing everything in. And from what I understood from the Megyn Kelly interview, it was pretty close to accurate. There were liberties, but a lot of it happened. So that I really obviously appreciate. So I'm giving it a 9. But anyway, that was a really long and hard podcast. And I don't think it's getting much better next week.
Well, it is a less uncomfortable movie, hopefully. It's Goodfellas.
Now, have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay.
And it's been on my list for a long time. It's up there with The Godfather and other well-established movies.
Okay.
Talking about mobs.
Is there anybody big in there in this movie?
Well, there's Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro.
Oh, maybe some people that we haven't covered before. We'll see. We'll let you guys know.
I don't think we've done any of those people in any movies.
Oh, I'm excited. We have to check some off our list. So we will be back next week with Goodfellas. If you guys want to talk to us outside the podcast, we are on Twitter. I am at Cinematically C. Tyler is Lame Tyler CC. That's where you can ask us questions for our audience asks section if you want to be in there. And I also kind of tweet out, where we put our timestamps on our blog. All of that kind of stuff will be on there. You can email us cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com if you just want to talk to us, let us know what you think, or give us suggestions, any of that.
We have a website.
We do have a website, cinematicallycorrectpodcast.com. On there, I usually kind of tell you what we're talking about in the episode, and I give you timestamps in case you want to skip over spoilers. You only want to hear the history minute, or you only want to know the reviews, or whatever it is. You can skip around, and I give that to you. Doesn't always go out directly with the podcast because I'm lazy, but it does go out, so you will see it. And you can also sign up on there, put your email in, and it will notify you when the blog post is up, so you can go click on the podcast and go look at the timestamps, do all those things. Yeah. So do that. I think that's it.
Thanks to Jake Adathis Music for our intro and outro music.
Yep.
We will be back next week for Goodfellas. Thank you for listening.